organization. African community. Metrology underpins trust, ensuring accurate measurement in health, manufacturing and trade.
Welcome to the Regional Metrology Conference. Together, we strengthen metrology in health and trade.
Collaboration ensures accurate measurement in industry and consumer protection.
It's not merely rapid function, but also a cornerstone for industrial development.
Accurate measurements drive innovation, quality, and consumer protection, both in Uganda and the East African region.
Together, we maintain measurement systems that protect consumers.
Without sound measurement systems, quality infrastructures cannot effectively support manufacturing, healthcare services, or fair trade practices.
In Rwanda, metrology drives accuracy in health services, innovation in manufacturing, and confidence in trade, strengthening competitiveness and consumer trust.
In Somalia, metrology ensures accuracy in medical services, reliability in production, and fairness in trade, building trust for consumers and strengthening regional integration. Together, EAC partner states are strengthening metrology systems in health, manufacturing, and trade, advancing consumer protection, fair markets, and regional integration.
See you there.
Across the East African community, metrology underpins trust, ensuring accurate measurement in health, manufacturing, and trade.
Welcome to the Regional Metrology Conference. Together, we strengthen metrology in health and trade.
Distinguished delegates, we are ready to begin.
Collaboration
Once our
ensures
chief
accurate
guest comes
measurement
in,
in industry and consumer protection.
as mentioned earlier, we'll start with the national anthem, the East African anthem, and then we'll have a word of prayer. If we could pause this and have the flag in preparation as well. So remember we have a code for scanning for the photos for this particular event. Remember to follow us on our social media pages on KEBS at Facebook and all the other social media pages. Tag your national standards body so that we can be able to, promote each other online and grow together. I'd like at this point to also thank Kibinge Warren, who gave his presentation, and Denish Ochieng. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be upstanding for our chief guest, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, Honorable Karibu Waziri. Karibu Waziri, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui. And chief guest, we will remain upstanding so that we can start with the national anthem, the East African anthem. Thank you for joining us.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu,
we will remain upstanding for a word of prayer from Mr. Magesa from the Weights and Measures, Tanzania. Karibu Mr. Magesa, utuongoze katika maombi.
Let's pray. Oh, our Lord who live in the even eternity, thank you very much, Lord, for giving us this opportunity here in Mombasa, Kenya. Oh, thank you for bringing different member states so that we can discuss different issues with regard to meteorology in our community. May you please bless Kenya. May you please bless the community and each member state so that we can be in one community with peace and unity and share our knowledge, experience, and practices for the development and the progress of our community citizens. We thank you, Lord, knowing that you will guide our discussions, you will guide our resolutions so that we can achieve what have brought us here in this regional meteorology conference. Thank you, Lord. We pray this in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Mr. Magesa, you may have your seats. Our chief guest, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, the Chairman of the National Standards Council, Honorable Dr. Chris Wamalwa, Managing Director, Kenya Bureau of Standards, Madam Esther Ngari, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and at this point, I'd also like to acknowledge the Director of Metrology and Testing Services at the Tanzania Bureau of Standards, Mr. Ridhiwani Matange, Mr. Francis Olwero, who's the Director of Technical Services, Weights and Measures Agency in Tanzania, Eda Tangi Luonga, who's the CEO, College of Business in Tanzania, Mr. Abukari Hassan, who's the Manager, Zanzibar Bureau of Standards, John Ondongi Nyakaba, Director, Legal Metrology from South Sudan, Mohammed Abdukadir Hassan, who's the Director of Metrology and Testing in Somalia, and Dr. Letitia Namubiru, who's the Manager, Legal Metrology, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and John Wamwana, who's the Director, Weights and Measures, Kenya, and distinguished participants. Good morning. Good morning. You know, our chief guest, let me try and bring you up to speed. So yesterday we had some sessions with the entire countries that are being represented here, which is Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, Somalia, and Kenya. And just for your information, chief guest, you know, we are here with metrology experts from around the East African region. And I'm told it's called Kongamano la Vipimo. Waswahili wa Tanzania walitufunza kwamba inaitwa Kongamano la Vipimo, metrology. And somebody yesterday actually mentioned on a light note, who's head of metrology, and when the flooding situation was happening throughout the region, somebody actually thought that it's metrology that is in charge of flooding. But such forums as this is to shed more light on metrology, the science of measurements. And if you don't hear them loudly, these are the engineers. I'd like to mention that here we have chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, physicists, civil engineers. In some of the technical presentations we had today by Danish Ochieng and Kibiringe Warren from also the National Bureau, it's just there's been a lot of discussion and presentations on research papers on how to improve meteorology as a region. And when we're hearing the East African anthem, umoja wetu ndio nguvu yetu, si ndio? Tanzania nilifikiria mtasema kweli, si ndio? Kweli, kweli, kweli. Karibuni sana. So at this point, chief guests and distinguished participants, I'd like to welcome on stage the Director, Metrology and Testing, who's also the APRIMET's chair, to give us his remarks before we begin. Makofi tafadhali.
Basi soma hiyo level, uchaguzi wa juu. Tumekota kikisha garanti, usipate umepima maji. Usipata mikupima maji, so standard. Usipata cheki kama hustler. You wanna go faster, faster. 1545. See to take them through, this is just my side. Double 023. If you know what that means, she can have back to double 023. Slide through, if you know what that's somebody on label. She got 023. Kai, Oko, Patapi, Fika standard to double 023. Tunataka kufeki get zokorada pero Mombasa jua kuna standard quality doti line hiyo namba ukitaka guarantee hiyo ndio hapa tuma SMS 0023 check 0023 nani kama tuye 0023 nani kama tuye 0023 basi soma hiyo label 0023 tuma code hakikisha guarantee usipate umepima maji usipate umekupima maji standard, to check it, come on, hustler. You wanna go faster, faster. 1545. See to take them through. This is just my side.
Thank you very much, our chief guest, Chris Famalwa, our managing director, all the representatives of the National Bureau of Standards and National Metrology Institute who are here with us. Good morning. Need some technical, it's not moving. Good. Thank you very much, and sorry for that. I think it was some technical itch, which might be as a result of calibration issues. So I will ask my team to look into that. Our chief guest, our theme for this year's EAMET is mainstreaming metrology in health, manufacturing, and trade. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Mombasa Raha, Karibuni Sana, to all delegates from across the region and beyond. I'd also like to be honored by the presence of the National Metrology Institutes, the national standards bodies, and regulatory authorities who are present with us today. Not forgetting the manufacturers, the health representatives, researchers, and consumer advocates who are here with us, and they practice metrology every time. We also appreciate the support of our international organizations and who are helping us to advance metrology within the continent. Our chief guest, our CAPS, we have a strategic plan 2023-2027, and also the Vision 2030, which is our main driver of what we do in metrology. In our Vision 2030 is to transform Kenya into a globally competitive middle-income country with a high quality of life. Metrology underpins the manufacturing, health, and trade pillars for this vision. So we have the key strategic objectives which are aligned to the conference of theme for this year. One is to enhance measurement infrastructure. So we'd like to modernize our National Metrology Institute to achieve international recognition for calibration and measurement capabilities. So, our chief guest, I'm happy to tell you that Kenya is a full member of the Meter Convention, and we participate in the key and supplementary comparisons where we have filed calibration and measurement capabilities for Kenya. It is represented by KEPS, and we have filed CMCs, which underpins the measurements that are happening in Kenya. We also have, the other one is to support industrial development. I know, Chief Case, you are a very keen advocate of manufacturing in this country. I remember I attended the billionaire dinner that you hosted at campaigns at GTC last year. So what we do as KEBS, we provide calibration services and technical support to manufacturers to improve their product quality and market competitiveness. We also have one of the other objectives, which is to strengthen health sector in metrology. So ours is to ensure measurement traceability for medical devices, diagnosis, and pharmaceutical products to protect consumers. On this area, Chief Case, we have our dosimetry lab, which is one among the few in the continent that we have established with the support of the IEA, the International Energy Atomic Agency. We also have one of the other objectives, which is to facilitate trade through standards. Harmonization of standards, measurement standards across the region to reduce technical barriers to trade and foster intra-African trade. So we have a lot of inter-comparisons that we are doing within the continent, within the region, and also within the continent and with other international institutions. So why does metrology matter? It is the invisible pillar. So without measurement, there's no quality. Without quality, there's no trade. And if you check some of the issues that normally arise across the borders, it could be issues to do with measurements and standards. So our focus is on health. Accurate diagnostics saves lives. And I always share an incident where I went for a test of my blood sugar, and the figure was so high. I spent the whole night going from hospital to hospital. I went to one, don't want to mention the names, it was okay. I went to another one, it was okay. I went to another one in the morning, it was still okay. I came back to the clinic, which had given me a high figure, and they told me, oh, we were looking for you. That figure was wrong. So you can imagine the kind of trauma I had because of a measurement which they discovered there was some problem. In terms of drug dosage, we normally told take 1 times 2 or 2 times 2. So if that drug is not having the right doses, then you can end up with a problem of either your treatment is not effective or you are overdosed. I know the chairman knows very much about this from his previous life. On the manufacturing, Chief Case, we want to improve the product quality consistency so that we have repeat customers who don't have to worry about retesting across the borders. We also want to reduce waste and reworks because this saves the cost. We also want to open our export access, specifically when we look at the AFCFTA, which is now an opportunity. We also want to make our SMEs competitive through having the right measurements. So for trade, we know that with correct measurements, we can eliminate the trade barriers. We can also be able to sign mutual recognition agreements. And we can also improve on the customs measurement accuracy so that you are charged the right duty. We also want to have consumer confidence in the markets. When I was a young person, I used to hear, this is made in Germany, it was very good. This is made in Japan. And I came to realize it's because of the measurements which they have. So the role of metrology in the, of course, the bottom-up transformation agenda. So we have agriculture, where we're weighing, testing of agro-produce. We also have MSMEs, which I have mentioned earlier, in the area of affordable calibration services that we offer. Then also we have the healthcare diagnosis, and as we expand on the medical care, then this service is very much required. Also on the digital economy, I think Chief Case, you mentioned about this, so that's an area that I know you have a lot of passion, especially on the measurement standards for ICT equipment, and also commerce and weights and measures. So on the area of continental and regional frameworks, we have the AU Agenda 2063, which we want a prosperous Africa where we have quality infrastructure, including metrology, in recognized also as metrology is a global enabler. So we have the AFRIMES, which I'm going to talk later, and you can see it actually forms the AU agenda. We also have the EAC Vision 2050, where we want to be a prosperous region with harmonized quality infrastructure as a central pillar. And also the AFCFTA, which is an opportunity that a number of countries are tapping on markets across borders. Then our strategic plan 2023, where we want to really have a national level operational in all the above. So KEPS is a major anchor institution for Kenya's obligation under the AFCFTA, EAC, COMESA, and global MRS, including at the MITA Convention. So metrology, we say it saves lives through medical device calibration. As I mentioned, a measurement traumatized me the whole night. It could have also made me a very happy person to go home, yet I'm sick. I'm supposed to be attended. Because if it was saying it's okay, but I'm actually sick, I would have gone home happy, and then my colleagues will wonder in the morning, what happened to Daktari? He was very happy and he was looking good. The other one is on the clinical laboratory metrology, where we are working with the hospitals in calibration, and also a new area that we are looking at issues of measurement of the active ingredients. Then we also have the pharmaceutical metrology. And you remember the pandemic preparedness, where we work with the universities and industry, and we develop a ventilator, which we actually got 2 ventilators which were developed, and I think the next phase now is to be able to maybe take it through the clinical approvals, and the industry can actually, we can start manufacturing some of those equipment. So in manufacturing, our chief case, we have an ecosystem of metrology where you measure. Then you have the standard specification, because when you are developing standards, those measurements are very important so that you can be able to define the correct standards. We have accreditation, where you're looking at the competence of whoever is either doing the measurement. Then we have the certification for conformity, and then also the market access for trade. So we have all these elements which come into play and support trade. On consumer protection, we are saying that every measurement that is made, every standard enforced, every calibration performed exists to protect consumer. Just like I mentioned earlier, when you are going for an X-ray, for example, the right doses is very important. Because if you get more, it damages your dishes, your tissues. If you get less, you don't get the proper diagnosis. So the other one is what we are saying is a call for action as a continent. We would like to achieve the ambitious AFCFTA, EAC Vision 2050, and also the AU Agenda 2063, which requires collective action on investment in metrology, the National Metrology Institute. As you mentioned, our chief case, the area of digital metrology will require a lot of shift in terms of the equipment that we are using. I know in KEPS we require one equipment which is about 100 million shillings. So when we come with that request, we are very confident that you will support us. It will require a lot of money to be able to really be active in this area of digital metrology. We also have the SMEs. The MSMEs, these are our pillars, and we really want to support this. I remember at the Paki, we are talking about Made in Africa. And it's a mark that we are working as a continent, and it is going to spur manufacturing in Africa, because for you to use that mark, you must be producing in Africa. So if you are a company in China and you want to use that mark, then you bring your company to manufacture in Africa, which makes Africa a very competitive place. But we also want our MSMEs to be the ones who are growing. I remember in the dinner, I mentioned, Chief Case, you are very passionate about anger local investor. And this is where it is. We also want to look at the harmonizing of metrology, the measurement standards in the region through APRIMES and also COMESA, EAC, and other regional direct institutions. We also want to strengthen legal metrology. I remember this morning you are asking about the role that legal metrology plays. We have industrial metrology, we have scientific and legal metrology. So if you are really to be very active in trading, then legal metrology must be strengthened. We also have the integration of metrology in health systems, and also to build the human capacity or human capital in metrology. So, Chair, in short, as we deliberate over the next few days, let us remember that every accurate measurement is a vote of confidence in our market. Every calibrated instrument is a promise to our customers. And every harmonized standard is a bridge between nations. So with those few remarks, our Chief Guest, let me thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Indeed, every correct measurement is a vote of confidence. And thank you for setting the tone and just sharing an overview of the expectation. And our Chief Guest, you are aware that the issue of measurements and how right that should be translates directly to the growth of the economy, because, and especially, you know, we've had a long time ago when you buy your airtime, and people are asking, if you buy airtime for 1 minute, how do you know that that is a minute? Thanks to metrology, then we know that it's a minute. If you are driving carelessly on our roads and you are driving under the influence and you say, for sure, I did not take anything and I'm on the road sober, the gauges for measuring that are calibrated. For example, here in Kenya, at the Kenya Bureau of Standards. So you cannot take that to court. That then the National Standards Bureau play a part in road safety. And most importantly, what touches each and every one of us here, health. We know somebody or have a relative or an elderly relative who is either struggling with diabetes, blood pressure, and just the basics, even if when it comes to children. And the triage at the hospital is what they call the first diagnosis. So when you measure right, and then you give the dosage right, so that when equipments are calibrated, like what we do at the National Standards Bureau. So it's important that metrology gets the attention it deserves. It's important that healthcare gets the equipment calibrated. And just to inform you, Chief Guest, and I know you're aware that even here in Kenya, the region is doing well because we have the one of its kind, the dosimetry lab, to calibrate radiotherapy equipment, that cancer patients in Kenya and in the region know that they have confidence in a government that looks after them, that hospitals now have to take that initiatives, bring their machines for calibration, and patients are assured, regions are assured that when it is measured right, it's treated right. Sindio? Engineers, physicists, I know you were not the noisemakers in class, but this session will be very interactive. So please feel free to, nod your head, say, yeah, that is right. And, when one of the presentations was being made here, on that first slide, they gave a formula. And that formula didn't look like, it looked like Latin. And I just told somebody beside me, my goodness, now I understand why physicists and civil engineers spend 6 or 7 years in university. So without further conversation, allow me to welcome the Managing Director, Kenya Bureau of Standards, to give us the welcoming remarks as well and acknowledge countries that are participating. Furtherly, engineers, makofi for the Managing Director as she joins us on stage.
our chief guest this morning, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, the Chairman of the National Standards Council, Dr. Chris Wamarwa, all the representatives of the various national standards bodies in East Africa, and the legal metrology, all the invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Our chief guest this meeting, we have representation from different countries within East Africa, starting with the Republic of Tanzania, the National Standards Bureau, Tanzania Bureau of Standards, and the legal metrology. We have Somalia Bureau of Standards. We have South Sudan Bureau of Standards. We have Uganda National Bureau of Standards. And of course, we have Kenya Bureau of Standards, who are the host for this event. I am hoping, okay, yeah. So it is both a pleasure and a privilege to welcome you to the East African Metrology Conference, a gathering that brings together some of the most thoughtful minds in measurement science, regulation, industry, and policy. And Dr. Rotich has made it very clear during his presentation on what metrology is all about, because we always have this confusion of meteorology and metrology, and even you get this confusion even from the person that you last expect. One of our senior officers at Kenya Bureau of Standards yesterday told us the way the daughter actually thought the issue of flooding affects the dad. And that was quite interesting, because the officer has been with KEBS for quite a number of years. In fact, he's on his last year of retirement. So that shows you how a lot of people get confused. So to our colleagues who have traveled from Tanzania, Uganda, Somalia, South Sudan, and beyond, your presence affirms something very powerful, that the future of our region will not be built in isolation, but through shared knowledge, shared systems, and shared trust. And that trust begins with something deceptively very simple, and that is measurement. Allow me to begin with a very simple story. Imagine a farmer in Arusha taking maize to the market. She places her harvest on a weighing scale. The trader quotes a price based on weight. That single moment, just a few seconds long, determines whether she earns enough to send her children to school that month. That is legal metrology. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, a doctor in a rural clinic in Barara measuring the dosage of medicine for a child. The difference between recovery and harm may lie in the accuracy of that small syringe. Or picture a manufacturer in Kigali preparing a shipment of medical equipment destined for another country, African country, because we are focusing on manufacturing. If the measurements that underpin that product are not internationally trusted, the shipment stops at the border. So you can tell now the difference between legal metrology and scientific metrology, what the national standards bodies do and what the legal, and some of our countries actually both the legal metrology and the scientific metrology is within the same institution. 3 very different moments, but they all depend on one thing: measurement that can be trusted. Metrology may operate quietly in the laboratories and calibration looms, but its impact is felt everywhere: in hospitals, in factories, in supermarkets, fuel stations, ports, and research centers. Without accurate measurement, trade slows down. Without accurate measurement, innovation stalls. Without accurate measurement, consumer trust will collapse. Metrology is therefore not simply a scientific discipline, it is the infrastructure of fairness in our society. The theme of this conference, mainstreaming metrology in health, manufacturing, and trade to enhance consumer protection, could not be timelier. Across East Africa, we are experiencing a period of remarkable transformation. Our region is industrializing, our trade volumes are expanding, our healthcare systems are modernizing, our entrepreneurs are reaching global markets, but none of these ambitions can succeed without a robust measurement ecosystem. A blood pressure monitor must give the same reading whether in Bujumbura or in Nairobi. So even in that small clinic where Dr. Rotich went, that blood pressure monitor should give the same measurement. A liter of fuel must mean the same thing in Kampala as it does in Dar es Salaam. A pharmaceutical product manufactured in one country must meet measurement standards trusted across the border. In other words, for our regional market to work, our measurements must speak the same language. So when our products are crossing from one border to the other, they should be trusted without having to be tested again. In Kenya, the Kenya Bureau of Standards carries a national responsibility under the Standards Act to provide standardization, metrology, conformity assessment services. As custodian of Kenya's national measurement standards, Kenya Bureau of Standards provides industrial metrology and calibration services that support manufacturers, laboratories, hospitals, and research institutions. We actually have one unique dosimetry laboratory. In Africa, we are the 3rd that is able to calibrate healthcare equipment, the radiography equipment, and to ensure precision when it comes to treatment of cancer patients. Our calibration laboratories operate at internationally recognized levels of precision with calibration and measurement capabilities published on the global platform of the International Bureau of Weights and Measures. This means that when a Kenyan calibration certificate is issued, it carries international credibility. But the story of measurement in Kenya does not belong to national standards bodies alone. It is a collective national effort involving respective national quality infrastructure bodies. Together, they form the backbone of measurements in trade and industry. But let us move away from the institutions for a moment and return to the people, because ultimately the work we do in metrology is about improving lives. It is about the boda rider in Busia who fills his motorcycle with fuel and trusts that the pump dispenses exactly what he paid for. It is about the coffee cooperative in Luanda that invests in quality and relies on calibrated instruments to verify moisture content before exporting to international markets. It is about a hospital in Juba learning diagnostic tests that must be accurate every single time. And it is about millions of consumers across our region who deserve protection from fraud, unsafe products, and inaccurate measurements. When measurements fail, the consequences are real. But when measurements are reliable, something powerful happens. Markets become fairer, healthcare becomes safer, trade becomes easier, and innovation becomes possible. Measurement, in essence, becomes a tool of justice. No country can build a modern metrology infrastructure in isolation, and that's why we are here together as East Africa. Measurement science is inherently collaborative. That is why platforms such as the East African Metrology Program, EAMET, and our partnership with international institutions are so important. Through these networks, we participate in international comparisons, strengthen technical capabilities, and align our measurement systems with global standards. These partnerships ensure that when a product is measured in one country, the result is trusted everywhere. So when measurements are done in Nairobi, those results are acceptable in Cairo as well. And that trust is the currency of modern trade. So ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a moment of extraordinary opportunity for this region. A regional market of over 300 million people, a continental free trade area connecting 1.4 billion consumers, a global economy increasingly looking towards Africa for innovation, manufacturing, and supply chains. But let us be honest with ourselves. Opportunity alone does not create prosperity. Prosperity comes when institutions are strong, systems are reliable, and markets are trusted. And one of the quiet systems that determines whether this opportunity succeeds or fails is metrology. As we begin this conference, let us move metrology from the margins to the mainstream policy. Let us invest in modern measurement infrastructure across the region. Let us integrate metrology into healthcare systems, manufacturing ecosystems, and trade facilitation frameworks. Let us support our universities and laboratories to train the next generation of measurements. Yesterday, when we were doing introductions, and I'm sure Professor will speak, the professor from Tanzania, they are already training Bachelor of Science in Metrology and even Masters. That is what, or the direction we all need to go. And let us work together so that a measurement made anywhere in East Africa is trusted everywhere in the world. Because when measurement systems are strong, something profound happens. Investors will gain confidence, industries will innovate faster, consumers will be protected, and governments will make better policies. Later this year, the global community will mark the World Metrology Day, which is on 20th of May, under the theme Metrology, Building Trust in Policy Making. That theme is a reminder that good policy cannot exist without good evidence, and a good evidence cannot exist without accurate measurement. As I conclude, I wish to reiterate that if East Africa is serious about industrialization, investment in measurement infrastructure must stand alongside those loads, those of loads, energy, and digital systems. Without trusted measurements, market cannot function. When measurement is right, trade will flow, industries will grow, and citizens will feel protected. I wish you a productive and inspiring deliberations. Mlakozi chane, webare nyo, asanteni sana, and thank you very much. At this moment, I want to welcome the chairman of the National Standards Council, Honorable Dr. Chris Wamarwa, to come and speak. Karibu sana, Chair.
Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Investments, Trade and Industry, who is our chief guest, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, Director, Weights and Measures Department, John Wamwana, heads of National Metrology Institutes and Weights Measures represented here, distinguished industry captains and trade partners, esteemed delegates from our partner countries, the development partners, invited guests and presenters, KEBS management staff, members of the Fourth Estate. Good morning. Habari ya asubuhi. Salamu alaikum. Jana waziri tuliambiwa ni kongamano la wanametrolojia, lakini leo tumeambiwa ni kongamano la vipimo. And I was wondering the difference between metrology and meteorology. We've heard about legal metrology, and I was just thinking, metrology ile ya weather, is it climate metrology? Because they also deal about measurements, isn't it? Let's reflect and see how to go about that. Now, before I go to my official speech, Waziri, we were just wondering, looking at our local universities, it's very unfortunate that we do not have any university that provides metrology. And I think it's the highest time we can copy from Tanzania, so that we can have partnership with maybe a technical university to introduce bachelors in metrology. As we strive to go to Singapore, the people who have come from other countries, Kenya, we are going to Singapore, and for us to go to Singapore, we must embrace metrology. It reminds me of some professor in Harvard Business School, Professor Kaplan and Professor Norton, who are the founders of Balanced Scorecard. They say that if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. When MD was speaking, it reminded me of a doctor friend of mine. After going to theater to do an operation, he went for the quick HIV tests and he tested positive. And they've stayed for so long without getting children. And those of you from the medical industry, when you want to get a child, of course you are timing ovulation time. So he told me, I called my wife and I told my wife, this has happened to me. And we could not make a child. We had to postpone. But when he went to the lab the following day to do the tests, it actually came out the guy was HIV negative. And right now as we speak, the matter is in court. So you can imagine metrology calibration is everywhere. I hope these machines are also being calibrated. So the difference can be between life and death. This is a medical practitioner, a gynecologist. He rushed, he did an operation, so he came out. You've been waiting for a child every now and then. You've done proper timing, umekula mzuri, stamina, na masema hakuna. So you can imagine metrology is actually very, very critical. It is everywhere. It is something we must embrace on our way to Singapore. so that as we try to see what kind of medical we are in. I once worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and those of you, when it comes to matters of oncology, when it comes to dosage, they look at the measurement, the height, they're looking at the weight. So if those ones have problems, wrong diagnosis, wrong dosage is equals to death. So metrology is something which is very, very important that we must embrace it in our lives. Now, distinguished guests, it is my distinct honor and profound privilege to welcome all of you to this regional metrology conference here in Mombasa. I extend particularly warm greetings to all our distinguished delegates, those joining us from across Kenya, our partner states in the region, and the international partners institutions. Your participation underscores the importance of regional and international cooperation in measurement science. It reflects a growing recognition that metrology is not merely a technical discipline, but a strategic pillar for national development, regional integration, and market confidence. I would also like to particularly appreciate the leadership of the ministry, the confidence and the guidance of the Cabinet Secretary, the dedication of the KEBS Managing Director, and the entire KEBS team for making this important gathering possible. Distinguished guests, our theme is mainstreaming metrology in health, manufacturing, and trade to enhance consumer protection in both timely and forward-looking. Metrology, the science of measurements, forms the backbone of quality infrastructure. It ensures that when we measure correctly. When we test reliably. And when we certify with confidence. As policymakers, regulators, and technical experts, we must continue strengthening laboratory capacity, accreditation systems, and technical competence to ensure that our health systems are supported by reliable measurements. Investing in metrology fundamentally is investing in life. Dr. Rotich, you mentioned that machine is 100 million. Yes, I think the CS had that, and the board is committed, with the help of the CS, make sure you involve it in your next budget. Distinguished guests, metrology may often work quietly behind the scenes, but its impact is visible in every safe medicine, every compliant product, every fair transaction, and every protected consumer. By mainstreaming metrology in health, manufacturing, and trade, we strengthen not only our economies, but also we trust between institutions, businesses, and citizens. On behalf of the board of the Kenya Bureau of Standards, I reaffirm our commitment to advancing measurement science as a cornerstone of consumer protection and national development. Ladies and gentlemen, as a country and as a region, we must embed metrology more deeply into industrial policy, enterprise development, and innovation frameworks. Small and medium enterprises require support to understand and adopt sound measurement practices. When our industries measure accurately, they produce confidently. And when they produce confidently, they compete globally. The policy architecture for a metrological integrated East Africa and Africa is already well established, and KEBS is committed to playing its part in giving it life. I wish to commend the Managing Director and the staff of KEBS for their unwavering commitment to strengthening Kenya's measurement systems. I also recognize the collaboration of fellow state corporations and regulatory bodies represented here today. As we deliberate over the coming days, I urge us to focus on tangible outcomes, strengthening measurement infrastructure in health laboratories, enhancing collaboration and testing capacity for manufacturing sectors, modernizing legal metrology systems through digital technologies, supporting capacity building and professional development in measurement science, and lastly, embedding consumer protection at the center of our work. When we had a discussion with the CS, he raised some fundamental issues. With the climate change, we are talking about the carbon credits. Actually, who is the person in charge? How sure are you about those carbon credits? And our media manager, you also mentioned about the issue of when you buy airtime of 1 minute. How sure are you? At times I used to use Airtel and some other. There are some 1 minute will take longer than others. Do they need calibration or what is supposed to be done? We've talked about loyalty points. KQ, you've heard of KLM, we've heard of Emirates. When you travel, you are given platinum, or you are given, the other one is golden. Those are areas actually we must look into. And there was someone who mentioned about integration, and it reminded me of differentiation when I was doing Form 4. I think that was mathematics. So I think we have a big challenge ahead. And as you people, as the experts in the area, we must look into that space and see how do we ensure there's that consumer protection. Lastly, it's now my singular role and pleasure to invite our chief guests to come to speak to us, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, EGH, Minister for Investments, Trade and Industry. Karibu sana, makofi ya nyayo. 1, 2, 3. Karibu waziri. Tena.
Thank you very much. Kindly, you may be seated. So allow me to first thank the chairman of KEBS, Dr. Chris Somalwa, for your kind remarks and also your insights around the area of metrology. The CEO, Madam Esther Ngare, all the representatives from different countries. I'm told we have the United Republic of Tanzania, we have obviously Kenya, we have Southern Sudan, Somalia, and Uganda. And also to take this opportunity to welcome you to Mombasa. I think this is probably the only city in Kenya where we can conduct our businesses dressed informally, but nevertheless very official. And I am told that after the formal part of this, for those of you who come from outside, kindly take time to visit Mombasa. It's a very unique city. We have wonderful beaches, good hospitality, and as we continue to market our country, I think there can be no better Dubai than Mombasa. It is safe, has good beaches, and wonderful people around. So welcome. Again, for KEBS, allow me also to thank you for the good work you're doing around the issue of standards. And first to note that the issue of standards or measurements or exactitude is not very well entrenched in our societies. And I think as we formalize, as we become more industrial, the need and urge for us to work on metrology becomes very important. When I reflect on my own personal experiences back in the village, it was not very uncommon, like when you go to the butchery, somebody comes and say they want a small quarter, and there's a big quarter of meat, that is. So it means that the exact measure of what is a quarter or half a kilo is a moving target. And the same can be said even when you go to the purchase of land, you want to buy land, somebody tells you, hii ni quota kubwa, ama ni quota kidogo. So I think we have played around with the measurements, and sometimes the word quota simply means a piece of. It doesn't mean an exact measure of something. It means a piece of something. So somebody can say, nataka quota 1/8 which simply means they want a piece equivalent to an eighth. But I think as we industrialize, and I think this is really the message today, it is extremely important that when you're told 1 teaspoon, it must be that measure. And so that whatever products you're making across the entire region can be measured and can be known to be so. At a personal, social level, I recall one day we went with a friend for a drink. So we said double, double, which, you know, when you're taking a tot of something. So when you say double, double, it simply means give them double, give me a double. I think in that country, when you say double, double, it means you take double tots 2 times. So when it came to the second time, we said, give us another. So before long, you realize you're completely intoxicated. But what is it? Your unit of measure and how you communicate it are 2 different things. So I think not only should we have the right measures, but also how we communicate the same becomes very important. I think that was said here, including in the area of medicine and so on. In the East African community, our goal is to come together and to work together and trade together. But how do you sell a commodity made in Tanzania, in Rwanda, if our units of measure are different? If our units that we recognize for measuring the ingredients of that particular commodity are different, it becomes very difficult. And I think this reflects in the area of manufacturing, but also in healthcare. So you will have a patient maybe going through chemo, is in Nairobi, but we would want a situation where they can go to Kigali, continue their treatment, maybe go to Dar es Salaam and continue their treatment. And it is for that reason that measurements must be universally accepted within a region. Now, we all know that Africa, when it comes to the idea of industrialization, we are probably the least industrialized continent. And likewise, we are the continent also where the issue of measurements is not also taken very seriously. So is there a connection? I believe there's a connection. If you want to move forward, if you want to industrialize, the issue of mainstreaming science, and also in this case the science of measurements, becomes very important for any country to move forward. There are many times when non-tariff barriers have become a real stumbling block to regional trade, where we say that you want to import a product from a particular country, but the standards are different, and therefore that product has again to undergo more standard tests before it can be accepted. But what would that mean in a continent of 54 countries? That you have to have 54 units of measure, you have to have 54 tests. That would not work. And that's why we celebrate this East African endeavor to create uniformity within our region, so that manufacturers within the East African community can be able to produce anywhere, and whatever product they have can sell across the region without having to go through any other standard test. And for that reason, I want to really applaud KEBS for the cooperation we are currently engaging with EAC and also beyond for recognition of standards, because it becomes very difficult for a manufacturer when you go to a country and the first thing you're told is that your product is not recognized here. So as an individual manufacturer or business person, to go through the motions of recognition of your particular product and the next manufacturer the same becomes very tedious. And therefore, we should do it at a national level, at the EAC level, and I think moving forward at the continental level. The EAC SQMT Act of 2006 provides for cooperation in ensuring standardization, quality assurance, metrology, and testing of all products produced or traded within the community. And therefore, we have the legal backing for whatever activities we are doing to try and bring about this harmonization. The ongoing separation of the EAC SQMT Act into dedicated bills for standardization, accreditation, and conformity assessment, and the metrology respectively, will give metrology the specific legal architecture it deserves. KEBS supports and actively KEBS supports and actively participates in this reform process. The African Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA, offers a combined market of 1.4 billion people and calls for cooperation in the areas of standard, technical regulation, conformity, assessment, accreditation, and metrology to facilitate intra-African trade. It requires state parties to establish mechanisms for transparency in standards development, promote the use of internationally recognized conformity assessment procedures, and to coordinate metrology through bodies such as the AFRIMETs. For East Africa community products to enjoy seamless access across the 54 countries in the AFCFTA, our measurement systems must be credible, our calibration certificates must be mutually recognized, and this will go a long way in creating the necessary synergy for movement of goods across our borders. Our metrology infrastructure must meet international benchmarks. KEBS, through its publicized calibration measurement capabilities and its active participation in AFRIMETs and BIPM, is building this credibility. But there is much more that needs to be done to enlarge the scope. Allow me to note that KEBS has aligned its strategic plan and annual programs to the objectives of Agenda 2063, including our participation in the Pan-African Quality Infrastructure and the Africa Organization for Standardization. As policymakers and public servants, our role is to ensure that that addresses the need for health, manufacturing, and trade. Integration involves testing in metrology infrastructure, training professionals, adopting international measurement standards, and ensuring that regulations are effective in safeguarding the interests of consumers. These will enable businesses to operate with confidence and provide consumers with the assurance that they are purchasing safe, effective, and good quality products. As I conclude, I wish to emphasize the importance of mainstreaming metrology as it ensures the safety and well-being of our populations, the integrity of our industries, and the fairness of our markets. I encourage all of us here today to take the conversation and insights from this conference and translate them to actions. It is my great honor to officially declare the Regional Metrology Workshop open. Thank you and welcome once again. Thank you.
Basi soma hiyo label 0023 tumakoda kikisha guarantee usipate umepima maji usipate.
Asante sana Waziri. Thank you, Chief Guest, for your remarks. You've challenged us that indeed the science of measurements needs to be entrenched. And you also mentioned something about right measurement and right communication across board. And I'm sure it's in forums like this that these steps are enhanced and these conversations are made. Yesterday we had a conversation, there was a presentation done by, I think it's Ateka, on the right calibration of chemotherapy machine and why it's important for right treatment, so that it should be normalized that when you do an X-ray in Kenya and you go to Uganda, they should not do another X-ray. So it saves money, it saves costs. And it should be normalized that when you may take your weights in hospital A, and then you have to take it again in hospital B, it's now 83. That should be calibrated, agreed, across board. And as you guided, Chief Guest, that this should be well and trained, we would like to bring you up to speed on a competition that happened for the very first time in the East African region. So in a bid to demystify metrology, the committee of the East African Regional Metrology Conference arranged for a video competition among the East African states targeting university and college students under the age of 35. And this is in a bid to, what you mentioned, entrench a culture of quality and understanding metrology, if I may say, bottom up, from the young ones to going up. So the committee received 56 amazing entries. They had an uphill task of deciding who won and who would be the runners-up. And this, I mean, is opened up again, hopefully next year. So entries were received from all the East African states, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. And they were marked through 2 separate panels. So there's the aspect of creativity, but the aspect which is technical, and the engineers here will tell you, the technical aspects of metrology. And the chair NSC also told us, you know, the meteorology, in Kenya we say Ngwata Francis. They know that when the Ngwata Francis was a popular news anchor who used to tell us, the sun in Marsabit would move to the sun in Kilifi, and the sun in Kilifi would go to Turkana, and it was a popular segment, and he would tell us when it would rain. And chairman mentioned something, that they also measure hali ya anga. Tanzania. Kiswahili changu kiko sawa? Tanzania, wacha nirudi kwa English. But they also measure, and so just to align, and so that this can be communicated to the audiences across the East African region. And at this point, Chief Guest, we would like to show you some of the winners of these categories. And in first position, it was Ndayambaje Vedaste from the University of Rwanda. And yes, a round of applause for the young gentleman. And this is his video clip. We can watch that.
Have you ever wondered how this is accurate? Metrology is the science of measurement. It makes sure that weighing scales, fuel pumps, medical equipments, and others give.
Thank you. Unless the sound channels are different, check on that. So as they check on the sound, the second winner was Elias Robert Benibaya from Kilimanjaro Christian Medical University College, who was the first runners-up. Kilimanjaro, that's Tanzania. Heko kwake. Mpigie makofi tafadhali. And you know, I expected the entry from Tanzania to say it in Swahili, but it was in English, but he did a good job. And finally, the third winner was, yes, and as you can see, second place. And Chief Guest, we had prize money for the students as well. So yes, that's in second place, Robert Elias, 800 USD. And that's a check. And then finally, in third position, second runners up, Fatuma Abdikarim Kero Ibrahim, who's a Kenyan from the Asian Pacific University, Malaysia. Makofi kwake, she also gets a prize money. So we ask for the member states present to support this young metrologist, and throughout this conference we will continue to play some of them. In fact, many of them leveraged on AI. In fact, part of the conversation from the report we got from the committee is how to, you know, how much do you award original creativity, how much do you award innovation with ICT and using of AI. But we hope for support from the partner states so that the next competition will even be greater. We'll be able to have those young individuals in our midst today. Makofi tena kwa utafadhali. Our chief guest. So as we check the sound, and we hope we can play 1 or 2 clips from the young men and women who participated in that. At this point, we will have an address from Dr. Leon Chao from the United States, and he will give us an outlook from the outside looking in on advancements in metrology. Dr. Leon Chao, welcome. The stage is yours for your presentation before we will have then another session for the NSBs to give their remarks as well. Engineers, physicists, makofi tafadhali.
Hatuna time ya kufeki, kebs wako rada, Nairobi to Mombasa jua kuna standard quality, tutati line hiyo namba, ukitaka guarantee hiyo ndio answer. Tuma SMS 0023, check 0023, nani kama tu 0023, nani kama tu 0023. Basi soma hiyo label 0023, tuma code hakikisha guarantee, usipate umepima maji, usipate umekupima maji, single standard ya quality. Usipate cheki kama hustler, fanyaji wanna go faster 1545, si tuta come through, si stress my guy.
So hi everyone. So first off, I'd like to thank everyone for having me today. It's such an honor to be here. This is my first time in Africa and it's been so amazing so far. So thank you guys for hosting me. So my name is Leon Chow. I'm from the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the USA. I'm a mechanical engineer. My talk today is called A Primary Lab Everywhere: How Groundbreaking Kibble Bounce Technology Will Revolutionize the Mass Calibration Laboratory. So yesterday afternoon, I had the pleasure of touring the Technical University of Mombasa. And I left really inspired by observing two things. First was the university's rich history and cultural significance in this area. And the second is, let me find my laser pointer, is this picture here that I captured. So it was almost dinner time, and this group of students completely laser focused on learning calculus here. It was a truly wonderful sight. And so I also want to thank Dr. Mbadi and the KEBS team for inviting me to the Physics Society of Kenya last night, their conference at TUM. I hope that my talk helped inspire some of the physics students there. I didn't see anyone fall asleep, so that was a good sign. I take that as a win. So yeah, just a quick heads up, my talk is about 40 minutes. I might run over time. I hope that's okay, but I also hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so a little bit about the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So NIST has two locations in the US. One is in Boulder, Colorado, which has beautiful scenery, as you can see here, with Rocky Mountains in the background. And then headquarters is in Gaithersburg, Maryland, near Washington, D.C. And we have lots of mosquitoes in the background, like our president. So unfortunately, I'm located here. And also where I'm from, we also have something called a double-double. But this is a cheeseburger with 2 beef patties and 2 slices of cheese. All right, so before we really jump into what a kibble balance is, right, let's start with a very, very brief history of energy. So there are 2 famous equations from Einstein, right, in the early 1900s. Now, easy quiz. What's the most famous one? I think I hear it. Obvious, right? So energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Okay, so now we also have a lesser known equation, which was actually proposed by Max Planck to explain black body radiation. But Einstein soon after utilized it to explain the photoelectric effect. And basically this is the backbone of how solar panels work. Okay, so here energy is equal to something called the Planck constant times the frequency of light. Okay, so between these 2 equations, these energy equations, you can see that mass may be correlated to the Planck constant. So there's a relationship there.
Okay, now here is a brief history of not energy, but mass. I think a lot of people here already know this history. So on May 20th of 1875, which is now officially World Metrology Day, my favorite holiday, where 17 different countries signed the Treaty of the Meter. So this formalized the metric system. This took place in Paris, France. I call it the old SI. Then in 1879, the international prototype of the kilogram, or the IPK, was born. This is a cylinder of platinum iridium that is 39 millimeters in diameter, 39 millimeters in height, and is housed under 3 bell jars and locked in a vault. Then in 1889, the IPK officially became recognized as the world's mass standard, meaning that all official mass measurements on planet Earth trace back to this king. So many copies of the IPK were made, were fabricated, and distributed around the world. So the national standard for the US is K20, or the 20th copy, and Kenya has K95. All right, so what's the deal? What's the big deal with the IPK, the International Prototype Kilogram? Why is it problematic? So for more than a century, up to 2019, the kilogram had been redefined as the mass of the IPK, whatever it may be. So as I mentioned before, the IPK is this golf ball sized object, and it's locked, triple locked actually, in a vault at the BIPM on the outskirts of Paris. So this was the only object on our planet whose mass was known with 0 uncertainty. So this is by definition. So in principle, if I were to break into this vault, get my hands on this object, cut it in half, it would still be exactly 1 kilogram. So furthermore, we can see in this plot that throughout the decades, that multiple comparisons that happen every so often between copies of the IPK and the IPK itself had started to drift. Okay, and so I don't like this plot because it is a little bit misleading, right? The IPK itself, shown by this fancy K, and K again here, hugs this 0 line with full authority, no change. And then all the blame is placed on the copies for changing. But in reality, no one knows if the blame should really be shared. I think it should be shared. I highly doubt the IPK is that stable. Yeah, so one may argue, okay, if we zoom out, we're making kind of a big deal out of micrograms on this scale, or a billionth of a kilogram. But no one can argue that it is not an embarrassment for modern day science when the foundation of mass metrology is measurably shaky. So, scientists have been pondering ways to dethrone or get rid of the IPK for basically as long as it's existed. And in recent times it became possible. But in fact, people have been trying to redefine the entire international system of units, or the SI, for quite some time. And then finally, in late 2018, we succeeded in transitioning from a set of 7 base units, which we're all familiar with. These are the units on the outer ring. Chapter 1 of all physics textbooks start here. Transitioning to a set of 7 fundamental constants we see in the inner ring here. So yes, all chapter 1 of any physics textbooks needs to be rewritten after 2019. This photo here is from the 26th International Conference of Weights and Measures, where all 60 countries abiding by the meter convention unanimously voted to revise the SI, right? And if you don't like it, too bad, because I have photographic evidence that Kenya was here and clearly voted in favor. So specifically speaking, the Planck constant replaced the IPK, formally making the kilogram a derived unit from the Planck constant H. Okay, so now how does this weird quantum mechanical constant relate to macroscopic tangible mass. Okay, so let me first introduce a few heroes to the story. So to link mass, tangible mass like kilogram artifact, to the very invisible Planck constant, we start with these two British guys in the 90s. So this is Brian Kibble and Ian Robinson. They developed this Kibble principle, which we now call it. So in a nutshell, it's a self-calibrating device where the weight of an object is lifted by an electromagnetic force. So some people listening may just think, oh, all you're describing is an electric motor, and you're right. So this electromagnetic force is derived from voltage and resistance, okay? And then around that same time, there were two other guys, Brian Josephson and Klaus von Klitzing, who both won Nobel Prizes proving a direct relationship between voltage and resistance to the Planck constant H. So more impressively, both of them got constants named after them. So the weight of the mass can be compared to an electromagnetic force, which is derived from the Planck constant. So this is the relationship. All right, so now we can move on to some of the more fun stuff. Okay, so now let's walk our way through the Kibble principle, starting with some very fundamental electricity and magnetism. So given a segment of wire, typically made of copper, it's immersed in a magnetic field. So if I pass electrical current through it, depending on which direction the current is flowing, you can create a downwards force, right, based off the right-hand rule. So the equation for this is force is equal to electrical current times the length of the wire within the magnetic field times the magnetic flux density. So again, nothing more than a very weak electromagnetic motor. Okay, now if I connect this wire to one end of a balance beam like so, I can pull down on the left side and counterbalance it with, let's say, a mass or a weight, which is defined by mg. G is the local acceleration of gravity. So in a nutshell, I've used a motor to build myself a mass comparator, which I know many mass metrologists here are very familiar with these mass comparators. So in reality, a single segment of wire cannot generate that much force. But what if we were to significantly increase the length of that wire and wrap it around 10,000 times in a circle, and then immerse it in a radial magnetic field generated by permanent magnets? So basically what I've done now is I've made myself an electromagnet, more commonly known as an audio speaker. So these speakers here, this is what's inside of it. So if you modulate the electric current flowing through it, you can generate, you can vibrate the membrane, and then it causes air waves to propagate through. And then it causes a phenomenon which we call sound, right? This is a little off topic. All right, so now we take everything that we just learned and turn it into a Kibble balance. So the elegance in the Kibble principle is this idea that you have a single instrument that operates in two different modes, which we call force mode here, and then another one, velocity mode, which I haven't revealed yet. So we can think of it more as mass comparator mode and a self-calibration mode. And then to build a Kibble balance, you need a couple of these key ingredients. So first you need a balance beam. In our case, we like to use a wheel. It kind of behaves like a pulley. You also need a coil here inside of a radial magnetic field, and you need electricity. So during force mode here, the weight of an object, and again, just like the slide before, m times g, the mass is here, this tiny little cylinder, is counteracted with an upwards electromagnetic force, B times L times I, where B is the magnetic flux density of the magnet, L is the length of the wire in the coil, and then I is actually, we measure the voltage drop across a resistor, V2 over R. So if one could measure directly G, B, L, V2, and R, this would be the end of the story. Right? We can calculate mass to whatever accuracy or precision you're looking at. But in reality, this BL product, B times L, is impossible to measure with good precision. So now the difference between a mass comparator and a kibble balance is its capability to self-calibrate or self-characterize, shown in velocity mode here. So if we look at the left side, we have something called velocity mode, where we oscillate the wheel very slowly so the coil sweeps through the magnetic field. All right. And what the coil does is it then generates an induced voltage, which we call V1. And then we also measure the instantaneous velocity at which this coil is moving through the magnetic field. And if we have both these V1 and small v values, we know what BL is. Okay. This allows us to then combine the two modes virtually, getting rid of that very annoying BL factor. And then you have a mass that is defined in terms of two voltages, electrical resistance, local gravity, and a velocity. And then the voltage and resistance measurements are traceable to quantum electrical standards, thanks to our two Nobel Prize laureates from before, which is where the Planck constant makes this very subtle appearance here. All right. So in summary, here's the evolution of the what we call the NIST-4 kibble balance from 2013 to 2018. So the starting point is some sort of conceptual sketch, some napkin sketch. Then for a couple years, my job as the mechanical engineer was to design the system, convert from this to this, and then ultimately building up to the machine that you see here. So this is a very glamorous shot of America's new primary mass standard, the NIST-4 kibble balance. And this is directly traceable to the revised, the new SI. Okay. And for size reference, the pulley or the wheel here, this thing here, has a diameter of 60 centimeters. But you know, calling it a pulley is a little insulting because this wheel is made from, it's an aluminum core that's nickel plated and then diamond turned. And this wheel is round to 900 nanometers. So around 2014, 10 metrologists walk into a bar. And this is either the start of a classic American joke. But during this gathering one evening, this involved a lot of beer, we each jotted down our predictions of what the consensus value of the Planck constant was going to be after the redefinition. And so the winner was actually a guest researcher at the time who was just 37 parts per billion off. So then around the same time, our core team of 6, we made a pact that we would get tattoos of the Planck constant when the redefinition happened. So, okay, as you can see here, we have 3 people that kept their promise, and then 3 chickens that didn't. So I obviously am one of the chickens. So this is a zoomed in photo of our div chief at the time. This is his tattoo. It says, for all times, for all people in French. And he has the Planck constant at the bottom. Okay, so again, before 2019, we used a known mass, we shoved it into this machine, and out came H. After the redefinition, after 2019, we start with H, we do everything in reverse, pump it into this black box, and out comes mass. So, and by the way, the napkin from the previous slide was put inside this plastic time capsule, this like plastic bottle, which we buried underneath the vacuum chamber. So this, the next generation that comes into this lab and rips it apart, they're gonna find some fun surprises. So, as a research team, we're pretty isolated from the real world, especially since the kibble balance lab is 12 meters underground in basically a cave. I don't see sunlight for most of the day, and then a lot of times you're questioning whether what you're doing is even useful or impactful for society. So it was kind of encouraging to see some major American media outlets report on the kilogram redefinition efforts, giving our team a little bit of credit. So we have headlines from the New York Times, Popular Mechanics, Washington Post, and they're all collected here. But my favorite is this Smithsonian Magazine article, which not only featured our kibble balance in this very artsy collage here next to a black hole, but the caption reads in the fine print here that these are 10 of the biggest strides made by scientists in the last 10 years. So there's been great public interest and excitement around this work, and people are recognizing and supporting this paradigm shift from the old SI to the new SI. And so this really brings mass metrology or metrology in general into the spotlight, which is important for all of us in this room. So this publicity also permeated to TV, radio, internet, you name it. So NPR, which is National Public Radio, they hosted a podcast with our guy John Pratt on the kilogram redefinition. There's also this primetime TV comedian named Samantha Bee. She came and did a funny segment on what we're doing. Back then it was called Twitter. So there's a tweet that got reposted a gazillion times. Here we have a YouTube video that was filmed by the channel Veritasium. I don't know if you guys follow him. It's really good. He's a science communicator. This has about 2.2 million views last time I checked. And then I think most meaningful is a hour-long documentary filmed by PBS on called The Last Artifact, which talks about this very historic global effort to do this entire redefinition. So I have some links at the very last slide in case you guys can take pictures of it in case you're interested in watching these. Just have to remind me. Okay, so far all of this has just been kind of like a fun, cool story. How does that help you? How does that help the world? And as of right now, it just doesn't. So here is the depiction of the current state of mass dissemination or mass traceability in the US, as far as my limited understanding. I think a lot of people here probably understand this process and infrastructure better than me. But let's say a 1 gram mass is sent to NIST by a customer or a calibrations lab or secondary lab, state lab. How do we calibrate? How does it work, right? So the traceability chain begins with the kibble balance here, right? We take this new shiny Planck constant, shove it into this black box, right? The Planck constant now has 0 uncertainty, and then we assign a measured value to a kilogram artifact. And then we take that artifact and we bring it to our neighboring group called the mass and force group. And then from there, it's the traditional way of disseminating mass by doing a bunch of inner comparisons and step downs. So this process to go from a kilogram down to gram level masses, along the way, you lose about 100 times of uncertainty. You start with 10 parts per billion, and you wind up with about, worse than about, I would say 1 ppm, 1 part per million. So this process takes about a week to complete. There's 44 different weighings, 1,200 individual measurements. Okay, and then finally we can ship it back to the customer, and then rinse and repeat. The cycle goes on forever. I think semi-annually, annually. They then use these masses to calibrate their scales. So what if? So I think this process is very costly. It's very labor intensive, and I think it's a little bit outdated. So what if we could optimize this traceability chain, or better yet, truncate it? And what if you could, outfit your own lab with a kibble balance? This would empower yourself with primary NMI level capabilities. Okay, so now if you zoom out even further, right, here's a depiction of the current traceability pyramid. So The capstone being this red triangle up here that says SI, right? The International System of Units. So most people assume that calibrations, at least in America, are traceable to NIST, and like we're some sort of ultimate authority, but that's incorrect, right? Measurements are traceable to the SI itself, right? NIST is simply a custodian or a vehicle of that traceability. And then, so just beneath it in the yellow section, you see something that says national standard, right? So everything we discussed in the previous slide exists only in this yellow section, right? All that effort. So as we move further down the pyramid, we enter the domain of secondary labs, calibration labs, state labs, until we reach the base, right? So these are the products used by consumers. And for me, this purple section represents the commercial balances and the scales you see in grocery stores, the post office, just about everywhere in everyday life. So now as kibble balance technology matures, the long-term vision is to replace those traditional retail balances with retail kibbles. So I don't think it's a matter of if, but a matter of when. And then by fully leveraging the new SI, we can embed self-calibrating capabilities directly into next generation balances, which brings quantum level traceability to the retail space, making things way more efficient and scalable. So I personally think in about 10, 20 years, you may see your local grocery store, when you ask for a kilogram of apples, it might be weighed on a retail kibble balance. So this is kind of quietly reflecting the progress we've made as a metrology community. So the technology we're pioneering today, hopefully will become just as commonplace that no one even notices that it's there. Kind of like how GPS or Wi-Fi is operating in the background. And that's kind of the vision we're building towards. All right, so where do we begin when we say we're going to prototype a kibble balance aimed at commercialization? So let's take a look at this highly qualitative plot here, where we're ranking the difficulty of building a kibble balance from easy to super hard against its performance, which is shown as relative uncertainty, right? 8 decimal places here, 3 decimal places here, right? So on the far left, you're in National Metrology Lab territory. So you need these elite technical capabilities. You also need divine intervention from the gods of metrology. And then on the far right here, at 3 decimal places, you could build one out of Legos. So in fact, Dr. Mbadi from KEBS spent the last month of his stay at NIST building and working on a system to bring back and deploy in Kenya. So I think Kenya, you can be very proud to have the first functional demonstration of a primary realization of mass traceable to the new SI, at least in East Africa. So where do we begin prototyping? Well, there's this sweet spot right here at the red X at 6 decimal places. So to us, this was the low-hanging fruit, the optimal point of entry, right? It's enough to compete with OIML E2 or F1 weights without the burdens of requiring a lot of money, vacuum chambers, direct ties to quantum electrical standards, direct measurements of local gravity. So we're talking about being able to shrink it to tabletop size. It's lower complexity. And then, so my favorite part is it opens the floodgates for entirely new areas of research. So now the question is, how do we empower you with NIST-like capabilities? So step 1 is to shrink and simplify what we've developed. So in 2020, we published this paper in Metrology, signaling to the mass community that it is indeed possible to achieve a few parts per million accuracy on mass realizations using this first-of-a-kind tabletop kibble balance, which we called KIB G1. So here you can see a photo of it. It's not that pretty. It's not very easy on the eyes. It's clearly a lab-grade, home-built experiment, but it got the job done. So the uncertainty budget is published here and here. Here's the title of the paper if you guys want to look more deeply into it. So not long after our publication, the U.S. Department of Defense, which is now named Department of War, came knocking on our door, and then they introduced us to the Army's primary standards lab. So that's when we realized that they were on a mission to modernize their mass metrology infrastructure as it becomes more and more costly each year to maintain. So the number I remember them telling me is it costs them about $1 million or 1 million USD annually just on the shipping of these mass sets around the country between their Cal labs and their primary lab. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, $1 million is not that much to the DoD, but still, we could do a lot of research with that $1 million if they gave it to us instead. But their vision was to become these early adopters of tabletop kibble balance and then outfit their labs with them. So we, as researchers, know nothing about how to build and design commercial devices, but at least we could try our best to develop the second generation prototype, which we call KIBG2, as a stepping stone. So we were tasked to build KIBG2 capable of realizing any arbitrary mass within the range of 500 milligrams to 20 grams with F1 accuracies, so about microgram level accuracy. So we not only achieved this goal, we actually found out that we could reach all the way down to 1 milligram. So the working range is 1 milligram to 20 grams on this balance here. You can see it's much smaller than its predecessor. And then we went as far as redesigning KIBG 2.0 to KIBG 2.1, where we gave it some significant weight loss, as it is now easier to transport and move around. Some quick highlights of the features here. At the heart of the system, we have the balance itself. This is machined from a single block or a monoblock of 6061 aluminum. It's a flexure based. It's a Roberval mechanism for the mechanical engineers out there. We have 12 notch flexures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then times 2, there's another set in the back. We use commercial voice coil actuators. They're slightly modified. The magnetic system is made of samarium cobalt. And then we use like gauge 44 wire or something, so we can pack as many turns in there as possible. Symmetrically designed. We have a mass pan up here. This is where you load the mass. And then we use an interferometer, which starts here. The fiber launcher is here. And this is to measure the velocity and displacement of the mass pan up here. So laser comes in, splits at a 50-50 beam splitter. Half goes up here. The other half goes down. We use a liquid pool, usually alcohol. Water kind of works sometimes, but the reason for that is the liquid surface always provides a reference to gravity, right? It always sits orthogonal to the gravity vector, which we need to align the laser to. All right, so where does our work land in the world of instrument development? So this is the technology readiness level scale, or the TRL scale. This is something devised by NASA, and it starts with, number 1, TRL1, which is basic observations or like napkin sketches, first principles, all the way to TRL9, which is your final commercial product that you can buy off the shelf, right? So KIBG1 I would rank as TRL4. The thing we just finished building is about TRL6, and I think by 2030, with the help of a commercial partner, we should be at an off-the-shelf device ready for purchase. So I think we've pretty much, for KIBG2, we've wrapped up the design. We're not going to develop it any further. We're moving on now to phase 2 with the Army Primary Standards Lab to build something that can reach up to 1 kilogram. So from 2022 to 2024, this is us, and our first prototype, you can see it's sitting on stilts. Very juvenile here. These are the Army guys watching us struggle. And then we were able to, once we finished it, we had to fly it all the way to Redstone Arsenal out in Alabama from Washington, D.C. out to a small city in Alabama where there was an Army base. It was about a 2-hour flight. And then here's a short video filmed by our public relations people. This is us the night before wrapping things up, protecting our flexure in this aluminum case. Yes, our lab is very messy. This is us wrapping it up in bubble wrap. The yellow thing it sits on is actually my pajama pants, and it's nice, soft, and fluffy. Here, leaving NIST late at night. The airport. TSA was unhappy, so they cut the entire thing open. The passengers on the plane were very distraught because it looked like I was carrying a bomb. Here we are at Huntsville, Alabama. Yes, it was a very rainy day when we got there. And this is Brad from the Army setting up the instrument and actually taking a measurement. So we finally have a real end user, the first ever end user of a balance. This is our victory photo. So in addition, so just last month, we brought out the updated KIB G2 to them, which is lighter, easier to transport, better performance. And then we put this instrument to test with a blind measurement. Okay, so this is important. Blind measurement of an unknown homemade mass. So this mass is truly homemade because I had to make it. I tried my best to hit 20 grams. Yeah, I even cut this notch here out so you can get tweezers in to lift it safely. But it came out close to 870 milligrams high. I'm not the best machinist. But that is okay because this kind of proves that the kibble balance can realize any mass, not just 20.000. And here's the plot of the results. Okay, so the green dotted line is what we consider to be the true value, which is determined using all these traditional methods. And then the green band is the uncertainty around that, which is about 0.2 ppm. The blue line is what our KIB G2 measured with an uncertainty of about half a ppm. But the cool thing is the results agree within 0.1 ppm, which we're pretty happy about. So then, more recently, we took the blind measurement to one step further. Oh, this was last year. So we did the first international comparison of 3 different tabletop kibble balances, ranging from 1 milligram to 10 grams. Okay, so in the world right now, there exists 3 tabletop kibble balances, right? One is KIB G2 at NIST. The other is this PB2 that was made by the PTB in Germany, and then the PB1 made by University of Ilmenau, also in Germany. So in order to try and show competency, we had 2 commercial companies, mass manufacturers, Rice Lake Weighing Systems and Hafner. They each made us a custom set of masses, and they kept the true value secret to us. So then we took these masses and we passed them around across the Atlantic Ocean, kind of like in a round-robin fashion for measuring on all our balances. And here are the results. So this is actually a double-blind measurement. The double-blind just means that yes, we were blind to the mass values determined by the conventional methods by the manufacturers, and we were also blind to each other's measurements. But once all of our kibble balance measurements were completed, the true value was revealed to us at this kibble balance technical meeting last November at the BIPM in France in front of a live audience. And so yeah, these plots are really hard to read. It's not really meant for you to read. It's just to show that data exists. This will be in a publication coming out soon, so if you're interested, you can look more into this. So as a quick bonus, I'll share with you our recent efforts to directly realize torque using the kibble method. So the principle is almost identical, but except here you have a spinning electromagnet instead of a linear one. And so this project is funded by the Air Force for directly calibrating torque tools like torque wrenches, torque screwdrivers, whatever you need to build aircraft, right? So in 2022, we built our first toy prototype. Here we called it Enter 1. So this is basically, practically speaking, useless, but it demonstrated the purpose, right? It could do under 0.1 Newton meters at 0.5% uncertainty. So then we also went on to then build version 2, Enter 2. Oh, sorry, Enter stands for Electronic NIST Torque Realizer. So Enter 2, this could reach up to 1 Newton meter with about 0.1% accuracy. We have a paper on this, summarizing all the development and the results. And then, right now, as we speak, we're developing Enter 3. So this is a behemoth compared to the last two systems. And this can generate up to 340 Newton meters of torque. So this is where the money's at. This is where people care. And this should be able to do about 0.5% uncertainty at the end of the day. And then as of last year, we have two fully working Enter 2 systems operating outside of NIST, as in they've been deployed. One is at Nellis Air Force Base right outside Las Vegas. That was a very fun trip. And then the other is at Snap-on Industrial. So that's a company that makes these high-end torque calibration tools. And then so we're scheduled to deploy Enter 3, the big one, later this year. So as you can see, this Kibble principle is very powerful. It's very ubiquitous. It can really be leveraged to build these self-calibrating mechanical transducers like mass balances and torque realizers, whatnot. Okay, so for today, I really hope you guys have gained some better understanding of this emerging Kibble balance technology. You know, the physics behind it, what it can do, where it's headed, you know, why it matters. So as we stand on the shoulders of this new SI, this is really our moment together to reshape how we do metrology and how it's used in everyday life. And at this point, I hope my message is clear that at NIST, we're doing everything we can to really future-proof mass and torque metrology, to bring you this reliable, accessible instrumentation that empowers Cal labs and secondary labs and state labs by putting you and them as close to the new SI as physically possible. And then during Dr. Mbadi's time with us at NIST, we worked closely together. We were in the same office. It was a lot of fun. Building this Lego Kibble balance that you see here. This is a photo taken by him at KEBS. So this is a simple but powerful educational tool that demonstrates the principles behind this modern realization of mass. While it's not designed for high precision, it still represents an important step in building capacity and understanding on the subject. So with countries like South Africa and Egypt already advancing in adopting the new SI, I think it's very, very exciting to see Kenya join this effort through this working demonstration. So our collaboration, our NIST collaboration with KEBS shows how these educational tools can spark, you know, deeper scientific progress. And I hope this partnership continues to grow, helping Kenya lead the East Africa in modern metrology. So, of course, I warmly invite all of you guys and all countries to collaborate with us at NIST as we go through this journey, as we, you know, find new ways to realize mass through this new SI. So with that, I'd like to say thanks for not falling asleep. Here are some photos to prove that Dr. Mbadi did indeed actually do work while he was at NIST. Thank you.
Basi soma hiyo label 0023 tumakoda kikisha guarantee usipate umepima maji usipate umekupima maji single standard ya quality usipate cheki kama hustler.
Thank you, Dr. Leon Chao. You know, when the presentation started and I was trying to consult some of the engineers there to understand some of the slides, and I thought they had redefined the kilogram in terms of if you weigh 60 kg, you could be probably 55 and not 60. on a light note, only to be told that it's now, you know, like the kilogram has been redefined, that it's, as one of the media outlets put it, it's the whatever of the decade, it's the discovery of the decade, and not relying on the physical mass, and now relying on the, is it the Planck's constant? I don't want to reveal how about physics and chemistry, but thank you for your presentation. And it's impressive that as all other sectors of the industry progress, then metrology is progressing as well. That there's, you know, there's this new discoveries happening. And I've also been told that there's a group, a field of metrology called Metrology in Chemistry and Biology. And I had not mentioned them as well. So they're in the house as well. And in short, you know, even when Dr. Leon Chow was speaking, I was trying to think as a communicator, how then would that technical communication be relayed to the masses? And in short, what the chemistry and biology engineers do is that they ensure countries like Kenya and the rest use trusted materials and standards to ensure measurements in labs are accurate and recognized worldwide. Makofi tafadhali kwa hao. So at this point, to give an overview of to give an overview of metrology in the region, I'd like to welcome on stage for a brief presentation the EAMET chair, who's also the director testing and metrology at the Kenya Bureau of Standards.
Basi soma hiyo label 20023 tuma koda kikisha guarantee usipate umepima.
Good. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know I'm standing between lunch and people. Oh, it's not showing up. Oh, it's there. Good. So I think after Dr. Leon talked, we've actually seen the overview of metrology world, the metrology community. And as mentioned, we have the physical metrology, and then we have the chemical metrology, and now we have the biometrology. Those people are counting organisms. They can count the viruses, and I think they require a lot of calibration so that, and I think yesterday this discussion happened. So I just want to go very briefly to say that we have EAMET, and I think one of our goals in EAMET, it is intra-Africa metrology system. Our goal is to harmonize measurement systems across the continent and also link it up with the international. We are supposed to strengthen traceability of those SI measurements to the SI units. And I will mention that it is through some of the comparisons that we organize. We also support NMIs in obtaining international recognition. So we have a peer review that we undertake on the quality systems that those NMIs are implementing. It's a requirement for you to publish your capabilities in the SI. I mean, in the key comparison database. We also contribute to the removal of technical barriers to trade by ensuring measurements are comparable across the borders. If you are to review in the last 10 years, you can see a lot of barriers that you have removed. You remember between our member states at the borders, we used to have a lot of challenges, and I'm sure our MD remembers. But all these were removed when we have these intercomparisons, and then we realize that the measurements we are doing are the same. So we have that mutual recognition. So I just want to mention about the regional metrology organization. So these are the regional metrology organizations at the BIBM. So you can see we have EAMET, which is actually for Africa. Then we have APMB for Asia. And I'm sure in one of the presentations, there was somebody who won, is it number 2 or number 3? In the competition. And then we have the CUMET for those countries within Russia. and then we have the EURAMET for Europe, and then we have the CABMET and SIM. So the main purpose of this is actually to assist in coordinating metrology across the world. Remember, metrology, we have the member states, and metrology actually contributes to 90%. Those countries who are implementing metrology, they are contributing about 90% of the GDP globally. So AfriMet is there, and when you look at the membership of AfriMet, we have 48 countries who are members as the principal members. Then we have the 8 associate members. Then we have 5 observers, and then generally we have the ordinary members and also the non. So if you look at AfriMet, for us to effectively offer our service, we have the sub-regional metrology organizations. And today you can see we have the EAMET. And you can see EAMET there is one of the sub-regional metrology organizations. And then we have the SADC-MET for the region, or the Southern ECOMET. We have SEMAC-MET. We also have NEWMET. And then we have the MAC-MET. So those are the sub-RMOs that coordinate metrology within the continent. So when you look at in terms of the, I think I mentioned this, but we have in the executive committee, we have the chairman, then we have the vice chairman, who is representing scientific and currently is from Zimbabwe. Then we have the vice chairperson representing the legal metrology from Zambia. And then we have the head of secretariat from South Africa. And then we have those representatives, and then the representatives from the SRMOs. So in terms of international recognition, we have members who are active in the MITA Convention, that is the CIPM MRA, and we have 5 states within the continent. Among them, we have Kenya, who became a member in 2010, 1st of January. Then we have associates. Among the 8 associates in this meeting that we are here, the Republic of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania is a member since, associate member since 2028. So those who are member states and those who are associates can now be able to participate in the activities like key comparisons and also file their CMCs. So if you look at the CMCs that we filed here, within the continent, AfriMet, we have 828 CMCs published, of which most of it is in general physics. I think I was having a discussion with the chief guest, and I was saying, I think for you to be a good innovator, you need to be very grounded in physics. Once you are good in physics, you can be anything else, even a lawyer, you can be an engineer, you can be anything. So we have those ones. Then we have chemistry. I think Marcy talked about chemical metrology. And you can see we have 155 CMCs in chemistry, and then we have 34 in ionizing radiation. And I think that's an area that KEPS is working on. You remember we have our dosimetry lab as a primary lab, and also it's going to file some of the CMCs in this area, in the ionizing radiation. And then we have a number of AfriMet pilot and key supplementary comparisons that we do, which are registered in the KCDB. You see, why do you need RMOs? For coordination or coordination of these comparisons. If it initially it used to be done by the PIBM, but you see the cycle becomes very long. So that now the regional metrology organization can organize comparisons within their region, and also they can coordinate also other comparisons, maybe in collaboration with other SRMOs. That way it cuts the chain shorter. So one of our very important role is on the FCFTA. Last year, we signed MOUs between the Pan-African Quality Institutes and Infrastructure Institutes. And AfriMet is one of the PACI institutions. So we signed MOUs to support AFCFTA. That was done in Ethiopia. So we are looking at supporting in the area of metrology, the technical competence of the labs. So that when we talk about mutual recognition arrangements or agreements, then the basis is on comparability of those measurements. Issues of measurement traceability, confidence in conformity assessment, and also the harmonization of measurement practices. These are very important. One other area is in metrology and chemistry. For a lab to be accredited, they are required to participate in some proficiency testing. And as an NMI, our role is to develop these reference materials. I know for NIST, we have been buying a lot of SRMs from NIST, and our chief case, one of our staff, I think, is behind here, Lubonga. Yeah, he's right behind there. He was also attached in NIST, and there's one of the SRM which he participated in, and when he came back to Kenya, he brought a lot of them. So those are things. So what we've done as KEPS, we have actually been accredited as a PT proficiency testing provider, and we're having a number of proficiency testing schemes and materials that we're offering. So within the AFRIMES, we also have a number of them, and I think I don't want to read through them. One is, the most critical one is mycotoxins in peanuts. We also have ochratoxin in coffee, pesticides in oranges, and also we have the moisture in coffee. So it's not conclusive. We have a number of areas, and this is to support our testing labs so that the kind of results they are generating are reliable, and they can also be able to get accreditation. So some of the initiatives that we are doing towards the African Union priorities is the issue of continental quality policy development. We are also doing continental technical regulatory frameworks. And last year, we also developed as PACI, one of the very important instruments, is a guidance. We have a AQBC policy and also the ACTREF, which is for technical regulation, which we handed over to the Secretariat. And they are now implementing in various countries, the NATREF. Then we've also worked on harmonization of measurements. We've also done a lot of intercomparisons. A very big project to support the food safety and agri-food is the cassava project, which is a continental. And we've developed the reference material, also a PT for this cassava. As you know, cassava is widely used. We've also done a number of, we've offered some of the PT, we provided PT which was done, and the performance was good, but we keep on improving. So some of the collaborations that we do is signing MOUs with strategic partners. One of them is the one we did as AFRIMET with China, Changchun Institute of Metrology. We've also signed with other metrology institutes. In China, each province have a metrology institute. And if you go to that institute, it's bigger than any NMI in Africa. They have big infrastructure, capital. And so we want to tap on that so that those countries who are not yet active in the meter convention can be able to collaborate with the provincial metrology institutes in China. So we got some donation. You see there, over there, we are having an equipment which they donated us as an artifact that we are using. We also got another one in December, and this will help us to do some bit of intercomparisons. Then I mentioned the FCFTA, where we are having collaboration to support implementation of Annex 6. And then I think the other one is the impact of AFRIMES, which I have actually mentioned, on the quality infrastructure to support trade, market access for our exports, and also industrialization, as well as capacity building. As I mentioned earlier, we sent our officers to various NMIs for trainings under the collaborations. We've also hosted a number of scientists from the NMIs within the continent for capacity building. And I look forward to hosting Dr. Leon, maybe on a sabbatical leave, to come and work with our people in KEPS. I know they were in NIST the other day, but if they can come back now, if you can now come and work with them in our labs, we really appreciate. So on the the running of the AfriMES, I'm the chairperson. We have the secretariat from South Africa. We also have one of our staff who is a member of the African Quality Policy Council, which links the AfriMEDs and the other structures. And then we have the JCRB. We've just had one of our staff retired and came back. Then we have Noah from Egypt, who is the chair of the TC Quality, and then we have the TCQS Secretariat. So, Chair, our chief case, thank you. I think in brief, that's what I wanted to mention about the role of AfriMEDs.
You wanna go faster, faster. 1545. See to come through. See stress my girl. 0023. Come through if you know what that means. She can number 2.
Thank you, AfriMED's chair. So in this next session, we'd like to acknowledge the head of delegation from the countries that are present. So when your name is called, please come on stage, and then you'll have a session and a brief moment to, give an overview and your brief remarks, even as we have the chief guest with us. So to start us off, so when we call your name, please kindly come forward. Director, Metrology and Testing Services from the Tanzania Bureau of Standards, that's Ridhiwani Matange. Karibu sana. Ridhiwani Matange, yes, please welcome on stage. I'd like to also welcome on stage Professor Eda Tandi Luonga, who's the CEO College of Business Tanzania. Please come on stage. Makofi, when your country is called, tafadhali encourage your CEOs. I'd like to call on stage Mr. Abukari Hassan, who's the manager, Zanzibar Bureau of Standards. Zanzibar. We have John Odongi Nyakaba. You would think he's a Kenyan. I think the boundaries just are invisible borders, but he's the Director, Legal Metrology from South Sudan. He's gone out, he'll join us. We have Mohammed Abdukadir Hassan, who's the Director of Metrology and Testing from the Republic of Somalia. Welcome. We have Dr. Leititia Nabumbiru, who's the Manager, Legal Metrology, Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Makofi tafadhali. And then finally, last but not least, our very own Director, Weights and Measures from Kenya, John Wamwana. So our chief guests, these are the heads of delegations from the different states. They'll also have a sit down with you during lunch break for further discussions and interactions. But if our co-MC could get the microphone so that we have I'd like
protocol observed. It is with great honor and a sense of responsibility to stand before you on behalf of our Executive Director, who have just taken office 2 days before we came here for the conference. He asked me to pass his warmly greeting of this conference from all the state partners and all the participants. To begin with, allow me to extend my appreciation and thanks to the organized committees who made this conference to be today. Also, EAMET, who have planned to have this conference to be in place. The Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, for hosting this conference in this Mombasa. Also, I want to thank East Africa community people for having this organized way of being together. Also allow me to thank also the other organizations who are attending today this conference. The presenters, since yesterday, we have seen them moving, presenting the importance of metrology in the region. As we start this conference, I begin to learn we have enough technical experts within the region, and they have obtained most of the knowledge. I got proud that the region have technical expert people in metrology, and they will help the people of this region in order to save the lives of the community. We all, as the community, we have to move together in order to achieve our goal. By having this conference every year, it helps us to address some of the challenges that we are facing in the region. Because I'm given 3 minutes, we are talking about we calibrate ourselves, and we have to respect the time. Briefly, South Sudan remain committed to strengthening its metrology infrastructure and to work collaborating with our regional partners to realize these shared goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, South Sudan. A round of applause for South Sudan. And remember, you'll have a chance as well. The chief guest is available to sit with you over lunch to have even further conversation. So this is for the sake of knowing who you are and the issues around metrology, just in brief. Karibu sana. Francis, we'll go to Francis Olwero, who's the Director of Technical Services. Weights and measures. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to start by highlighting our legal framework as WMA. WMA, we operate under Weight and Measures Act, Cap 340. Also, we serve as Tanzanian National Legal Metrology Body under the Ministry of Industry and Trade. We have our coverage. In our country, we have 29 regions, and each region we have our offices. We have 3 special centers in which one is Misugusugu, where we verified water meters, electricity meters, and the vehicle tanks. Also, we have the prepackaged units where we do inspect the imported product. We also have port units where we do metrological supervision for petroleum product. We have 450 staffs, in which 300 are inspectors. We have new areas, which is we plan to start verifying airtime bundles. We have natural gas. We have medical, gaming, and verifications. And gaming verifications, we have ATG, automatic tank gauging. Yes. Also, I would like to conclude. We are happy to be with you here to share our experience for the betterment of our region. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Abukari Hassan, Manager Zanzibar, Bureau of Standards.
On behalf of Director General of Zanzibar Bureau of Standards, it's a great honor to participate in East Africa Metrology Subcommittee Regional Metrology Conference. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our brothers, Tanzania Bureau of Standards, the organizer, and the East African community for the opportunity extended to ZBS. ZBS is a national institution responsible for standardization, quality assurance, testing, and metrology services in Zanzibar. The Bureau was established under Zanzibar Act number 1 of 2011. The ZBS is currently in the final stages of establishing the first metrology laboratory in Zanzibar. The laboratory is expected to commence operation before the end of this year, after finishing our first inter-laboratory comparison, which we will do with our brothers, Tanzania Bureau of Standards. Initially, we will offer calibration service in the field of temperature and math. This is the important development mark as the significant step, strengthening measurement traceability and reliability in Zanzibar, while also supporting regional cooperation in metrology, enhancing confidence, measurement that underpin trade, industry, and regulatory compliance. Thank you. That's the short remark about ZBS.
Thank you. Feel free to have your seats. From Somalia, karibu sana.
Good morning. It is great honor to be here. Okay, thank you. It's great honor to be here, briefly share highlights of metrology in the science of measurement and vital role in our life and national development. Metrology is the measurement, is the foundation of quality, safety, and trust, and modern in any modern society. At Somali Bureau of Standards, metrology is a key within national quality infrastructure, alongside with standard testing and certification. So Somali Bureau of Standards is a young institution. It was established in 2020. Metrology in Somali Bureau of Standards contributes directly to consumer protection by ensuring the goods in the market meet safe and quality standards. It also helps prevent fraud and ensures fairness in commercial transactions. So my key areas is accurate, reliable measurement is essential for quality, safety, via trade. Without metrology, we cannot trust results in health, industry, and commerce. So the key point is health in metrology ensures correct result in laboratories. So incorrect measurement in medical testing can lead a wrong diagnosis, which shows how critical metrology is. Our vision is to be one of the best in quality infrastructure, ensuring the safer, via and more progress in Somalia. Our mission is to build a strong metrology system that ensures accurate measurement, protects consumer, and supports trade and promote innovations. In my conclusion, metrology is a foundation of trust in modern society. It helps improve health, trade, and economic growth. Thank you so much.
A round of applause for Somalia. At this point, I'd like to call Patrick Musavi, representing Uganda.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, the MD KEBS, and all protocol observed. As mentioned, my name is Patrick Kizito Musaz from Uganda National Bureau of Standards. I bring greetings from Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and we are, as an institution, we are all committed to the development of metrology in the East African region, because we all know that without metrology we cannot prosper. Metrology is a pillar to development of industrialization and all aspects of life. So at Uganda National Bureau of Standards, we embrace metrology, and it spans from the industry, health, and all sectors of metrology where measurement is needed. We have a new building that we have just occupied. It has 33 laboratories, and currently, I don't know, we also have 33 staff currently for metrology. So 33 labs and 33 staff. But that doesn't mean that the 33 labs are all operational. It is the space that is provided for future development. We hope to bring on board medical calibration and research and development, where basically those labs, the 33, will be occupied. And we also offer legal metrology services in the country. I think from our presentation yesterday, it was ably highlighted, where we do the tankers, fuel dispensers, mass, and so many other things that need a measurement, especially in trade. I think that's the highlight I can give about metrology infrastructure in Uganda. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. We now cross borders to Tanzania. Riwadhani Matange, Director Metrology and Testing Services.
Nairobi to Mombasa, jua kuna standard quality, utati dial hiyo namba, ukitaka guarantee hiyo ndio.
Good afternoon, guest of honor, Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Industry and Trade, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, all protocol observed. My name is Ridwan Matange. I'm the Director of Testing and Metrology Services at the Tanzania Bureau of Standard. First of all, guest of honor, kindly receive our warm greeting from our Director General, Dr. Ashura Katunzi, who wishes to be here in person, but because of some other government activities. She didn't do it, and on behalf of that, I'm here to represent her. Gachavana Tanzania Bureau of Standards is NMI for Tanzania, and in a special arrangement, because Tanzania is a united republic, we have the Tanzania Bureau of Standards, and my colleague who has just spoken, Abubakar from the Zanzibar Bureau of Standards. So, especially Tanzania, with a special arrangement, to have two Bureau of Standards dealing almost with the same things, but collaborating to perfect each other. Gachavana, Tanzania Bureau of Standards is an old institution, started back 1975 with the Standard Act Cap number 130, and it has been established to and mandated to develop standardizations, quality assurance, metrology, and testing. And in terms of management, we have 5 directorates led by the Director General, of which we have the Standard Development Directorate, Testing and Metrology, Quality Management Directorate, and Compliance and Enforcement Directorate, and of course you have the supporting directorate called Human Resource and Administration Directorates. In metrology, we have 6 laboratories: the thermometry laboratory, electrical and time and frequency laboratory, mass and volume laboratory, mechanical, force and torque laboratory, length laboratory, metrology and chemistry and biology laboratory. In terms of facilities, currently we are in Dar es Salaam, the commercial city, of which you have the headquarters, having the testing facilities and the metrology lab. And of course you have 2-3 zone lab in Dar es Salaam, and Mwanza, and Mbeya. And we are expecting to officially inaugurate our new building in our government city, Dodoma, which will accommodate both testing facilities and metrology facilities. Actually, that building will be officially inaugurated coming June this year. Our function is to do the calibrations, basically scientific and industrial metrology, and directly we are doing calibration and technical services, technical assistance. And we are doing calibration in the area of temperature and humidity, mass and volume, pressure, force and torque, electrical time interval and rotation speed, length, metrology, chemistry, and biology. And we are providing technical assistance to our customers. In terms of achievement, as the President of EAMET says, Tanzania managed to publish 18 CMC, 17 in temperature field, and 1 from volume field. We expect to expand more in our areas, in different field and scope. And because we have the adequate, competent manpower, that thing can be achieved. Dear Wana and dear participants, as you have said, you have 3-zone lab, and we expect to expand to all 9 zones we have in operations, and expand our measurement capability in photometry, radiometry, medical, ultrasound, acoustic, and vibration. And also to realization of 2 SI units and set up the national time scale contribution to UTC. Guest of honor, all our testing laboratory and the metrology lab are accredited through ISO IC 17025. Finally, guest of honor, I would like to appreciate the organizer of this event, all the NMIs and the ESC partner states, and a special thanks to CAPES for hosting this event. And also participants for each NMI and the public and private sector to develop and the development partners who are here with us. Lastly, we are taking this opportunity to welcome you in our institution for calibration, services, learning purpose, and continued collaboration. Thank you, asanteni sana.
Let's wind up with the NSBs present, then we'll go to the private sector. Mr. John Wamwana, who's the Director, Weights and Measures Kenya. Karibu sana.
Our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, the Chairman of the National Standards Council, Kenya Bureau of Standards, the MD, Kenya Bureau of Standards, Esther, all the regional heads of metrology institutions who are here. Waziri, allow me to speak to the people here in the legal metrology language, because they are consumers of the legal metrology services, and we need to understand them to be able to move this economy for this region. As we go in line with the theme, mainstreaming metrology in health, manufacturing, and trade to enhance consumer protection, let us zero in for a moment in what needs to be done. Although measurement may rarely be noticed in daily life, it underpins nearly every economic and social activity. From engagement with patients at the triage that inform medical diagnostics, to fuel dispensed at our stations when we want to move, to agriculture, that is a mainstay of all our economies around, to electricity that we consume when we are manufacturing and in our homes. That activity is informed by accurate measurements that will form the foundation for fair trade, consumer protection, and confidence of the consumers. Legal metrology exists to safeguard that interest, the trust that the person has to move and spend their money. Through patent approval, verification, inspection, and enforcement, legal metrology authorities ensure that measuring instruments used in regulated sectors remain accurate, reliable, and resistant to manipulation. In doing so, they protect the consumers, support honest businesses, and strengthen confidence in markets. However, the measurement landscape is rapidly evolving now. It is not the conventional means that we always know. Technology innovation is transforming how goods and services are produced, delivered, and consumed. These changes bring new measurement challenges that require the attention of regulators, scientists, industry, and policymakers, like we have been discussing through in terms of how to work together to make the science serve us. For the East African community, metrology is not only a technical discipline, but also a strategic enabler of regional integration and trade facilitation. And Chair Dr. Chris, it is not the other differentiation, the integration of us being together. Harmonized measurement systems support cross-border trade, promote mutual recognition of measurements, and ensure consistent consumer protection across regions. As our economy is industrialized and digitized, stronger collaboration among national metrology institutes, regulators, utilities, and private sector becomes increasingly important. So several emerging areas require particular attention for us as we move forward. One is the utility measurement. We always think of, yes, we'll get a kilowatt from that equipment. Now the way to disseminate it is changing. When you look at electricity and water metering, used for the industrial and commercial building, we have smart metering coming up with other elements that go into it. Accurate meters are essential to ensure fair charges for consumers while protecting revenues for service providers so that they can keep providing it. With the growing use of smart and automated meters, legal metrology authorities must strengthen their technical capacity and develop harmonized verification frameworks for digital metering systems. Otherwise, you will be doing the work of testing an equipment, you walk away, and whoever is using it continues doing their own things with it. They will talk to it in a different language. Another emerging field is the auto gas dispensing systems. We are now saying we want to use gas in our vehicles. So that is increasingly being adopted as part of a transition to cleaner transportation energy. While autogas offers environmental and economic benefits, it introduces new verification challenges due to the high pressure flow measurement technologies that come with it. And therefore the issue of safety comes in. How do we assure that to the consumers? So appropriate standards and harmonized regional verification procedures will be necessary to protect consumers and ensure measurement accuracy. Similarly, the growth of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We are saying we want to go green, so electric vehicles. This presents new regulatory challenges. Consumers must be assured that the electrical energy billed during charging corresponds accurately to the energy delivered. Legal metrology frameworks must therefore evolve to ensure transparency and fairness in the EV energy so that we do not bring out a stillbirth where the consumers now run away from it. Beyond physical goods and energy systems, measurement challenges are also emerging within the digital economy. Increasingly, consumers purchase services such as internet, data, airtime, and communication bundles that we are using to connect to the internet, whose quantities are defined digitally. Ensuring that these quantities are measured accurately and transparently is becoming an important aspect of consumer protection. Addressing this issue will require closer cooperation between legal metrology authorities, telecommunication regulators, and standards bodies. Another important frontier is the carbon markets and the climate change mitigation mechanisms, which is now at the forefront of our work. How do we tap into getting money from these systems? Carbon credits present measurable reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and increasingly are being traded globally. How do we get in? However, the credibility of the carbon markets depends on accurate and verifiable measurement systems since carbon trading is all about determined weight of emissions. When you talk about carbon credits, it boils down to the weight. That is how we determine how much will be paid out of it. We want to compute and now get the weight of the emissions we have stopped from getting into the atmosphere. Then we put it on the market and say, can we be paid for it? How do we ensure we are not going to be cheated out of it as the region? We have forests all over around us. Legal metrology principles can therefore play an important role in ensuring measurement traceability and reliable quantification of emissions reductions, thereby strengthening confidence in climate-related markets. This development demonstrates that metrology is increasingly becoming strategic infrastructure for digital and green economies. Modern economic systems, from smart energy networks to digital data services to renewable energy and emissions, depend on trusted measurement frameworks. To address these changes, the East African region must continue strengthening cooperation in metrology. Key priorities include harmonizing legal metrology regulations across the region, building technical capacity within national metrology institutions, enhancing collaboration with sector regulators, and promoting regional research, training, and knowledge exchange on emerging measurement technologies, so that we speak with one voice about what we want to do. Colleagues, metrology may operate quietly behind the scenes, yet its impact on society is profound. You ignore it at your own peril. It safeguards patient safety in healthcare, supports efficiency in manufacturing, and ensures fairness in trade, and strengthens confidence in markets. If the consumers feel that they are being cheated, they will not come to the market with their money. Then, which investor will want to come and invest in a market where things are not being bought? So we need to think about that. By strengthening regional cooperation and investing in robust measurement systems, we can ensure that our economies continue to grow on a foundation of accuracy, transparency, and trust. When measurement is trusted, markets function, consumers are protected, and economies grow with confidence. Thank you very much, and I hope we will go ahead to do what we are talking about.
Thank you, Director, Weights and Measures. Indeed, ignore metrology at your own peril. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to invite on stage Professor Eda Tangi Luoga, who's the CEO, College of Business Tanzania. Karibu sana.
You wanna go faster, faster, 1545. See to come through, see stress my girl. 023. Come through, if you know what that means, she can number 20023.
Dear Chief Guest, the Minister of Investment, Industry and Trade. In Kiswahili will say Mheshimiwa Waziri, Uwekezaji, Viwanda na Biashara. Dear MD and Chairperson, and dear guests from different countries. So my names are Professor Eda Tangi Luoga, the Rector, also the CEO of College of Business Education. And the college is under the government, under the Ministry of Industry and Trade. And it's a very old college with over 60 years. Now it's our 61st year. So it was established in 1965. And we have been offering programs in business and other related programs, from certificate, diploma, and bachelor programs. And then for the past 10 years, we also started offering master's programs. And in total, we have 4 campuses across the country: in the eastern zone, at the center, which is Dodoma, and then in Lake Zone, which is Mwanza, and then the southern western side. And then from last year, we have also started establishing another campus in the northern zone, which is Kilimanjaro, which is near to Nairobi. So we hope we'll have across 5 campuses, and our total student population is over 24,000 students across all these 4 campuses that are currently operating. And if I zero down to metrology, metrology has been a discipline that started in our institution since 1978. So we have about 47 years experience of offering metrology. And CBE, which is the College of Business Education, we have been offering metrology not only in Tanzania, but we are the only college offering this type of education in Eastern and Central Africa. So we have been producing professionals for metrology and standardization across the region. And in the program itself, in the metrology, we offer a certificate which is a 1-year course, and then we also offer a diploma, which is a 2-year course, and then we offer a bachelor program in metrology and standardization, which is a 3-year course. And currently, we are also developing 2 more programs, which we expect that will start by October next year. And these ones are 2 programs. The first one is metrology and quality management, of which will offer an apprenticeship mode, in which students will spend 1 semester at the college and then 1 semester at the working place, which we expect they'll be working either with the weights and measure agents or Tanzania Bureau of Standards. And then we are also developing another program, engineering program in metrology, and this will be a 4-year program, and all of these 2 programs will start by next year. We have also initiated conversation with St. Petersburg University in Russia, of which most of our staff in metrology have been studying there. And we want also to establish a master's program in which students, they'll spend 3 semesters at CBE and then 1 semester in Russia. Or we expect that this program will also start by next year in October. So apart from teaching, we also do research, and also we offer short courses and consultants in metrology. And in research, we have been working with 3-day bear in Finland, of which we have been developing a virtual reality program so that our students can also benefit from that when they are being trained in metrology. And we offer short courses, tailor-made courses according to the needs of our client. And we have been offering these short courses in the country, but also other countries have been coming to Tanzania and attend the courses. We have had experts from NIMS in Malawi, in Zambia, but also in Uganda. So our future plan, currently we are building a 10-floor building, of which the cost is $12 million, and we expect that building will be dedicated for metrology courses and also labs and workshops, and it will host about 5,000 people. So we would like to partner with each of you so that we can also collaborate more in training, but also research, and also offering consultant services, which we expect to start next year once our bidding is complete. We have proven MOU with a number of institutions in the country and outside the country, and we are ready to partner with each of you. Thank you very much for listening. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Professor Tandi Luoga. Asanteni sana, makofi tena kwa heads of delegations. So our chief guest, we've come to the tail end of the opening ceremony. We thank you so much for gracing this occasion, and we are well aware that you will have a sit down over lunch with the heads of delegation to further the conversations that have just started on this stage. But at this point, metrologists say that when you measure content, you measure it with a gift. And because you graced us for this occasion and opened officially, we have a token of appreciation for you. And we'd like to call you on stage, our chief guest, Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, to receive a token of appreciation which shall be handed over by Dr. Letitia Namumbiru from Uganda. She wasn't able to give her remarks then, but please use this opportunity to kindly hand over our chief guest with a token of appreciation. Music tafadhali, chief guest karibu.
Basi soma hiyo label 0023 tumakoda kikisha guarantee usipate umepima maji usipate umekupima maji single standard ya quality usipate cheki kwa mahasla fanya you wanna go faster 1545 see to come through this is stress my girl. Soma hiyo label 0023 come through if you know know that me, she can number 2.
Thank you, Chief Guest, and that is handed over to you as a token of appreciation from the entire organizing committee and the regional metrologists from the state corporation, the state measurement. Asante sana waziri. Makofi, makofi, makofi kwa waziri. Thank you, waziri. At this point, we'd also like to appreciate the NSC chair for being with us yesterday and today, and we have a token of appreciation for you, which shall be handed over by South Sudan. Representative from South Sudan, Karibu Sana, Chair, Karibu kwenye jukwaa. We say thank you. Thank you. And if you can look directly at the photo. Thank you. Remember, we'll also have a group photo outside with our chief guest. At this point, thank Dr. Leon Chi, who has given us the keynote speech and for redefining the kilo and coming all the way, and that shall be handed over by the EAMET chair. Please, Karibu. Karibu means welcome. So let's have a token of appreciation for the keynote speaker, Dr. Leon. And it's being handed over by EAMET chair. Indeed. Thank you. And we hope you can add this photo to your next presentation. Thank you. And Madam MD, finally, last but not least, the organizing committee recognizes a key player in the regional, in metrology, and this is none other than Mr. Martin Nyakiamo, who's also leaving. This is his final activity as Chief Manager, Metrology, and we have a token of appreciation for you as well. Thank you for the good work. This shall be handed over by the Managing Director, Madam Estangari. Please. Makofi tafadhali. It's no mean feat to lead a department and lead it well. Mr. Nyakiamo has been serving as the head of testing services at the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Chief Manager, Metrology. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Asante sana. At this point, thank you, DJ. And that song you're hearing on the background, 20023. When you're in Kenya and you've purchased a product, you can verify on the go by sending the hash number on the SMARC to 20023. At this point, thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, thank you for showing up for this opening ceremony. Our chief guest and our delegates, you are required to just kindly walk out even as we wind up for a photo session. So we have the seats already outside there. We'll allow the chief guest and NSC chair and the MD and the heads of delegations as well. So we have the photographers out there who will sort of like arrange us, calibrate that photo to be perfect. And then later on, you shall be shown where to have lunch. It's the same reception, same place as yesterday, but there's a seating specifically for our chief guest and the heads of delegation to further this conversation. Another round of applause for sticking through and making metrology matter. Asante sana. Thank you. We may be upstanding and allow our chief guest to leave, and then we follow so that we can take the group photo. We can follow and just so that we can have the group photo that will also be posted
Have you
on our
ever
social
wondered
media pages.
How this is accurate? Metrology is the science of measurement. It makes sure that weighing scales, fuel pumps, medical equipments, and others give correct results.
In health, metrology ensures stethoscopes show correct measurements and medicines are given in the right doses. Small error may be dangerous. In manufacturing and trade, metrology ensures products meet standards and customers get what they pay for.
Metrology protects consumers from cheating, poor quality, and unsafe goods. Metrology may be invisible, but its impact is everywhere. Accurate measurements build the trust, safety, and fairness. Metrology matters.
That we all go outside kindly for a group photo. Tafadhali. Tanzania nawaona, Uganda nawaona. Tanzania, najua mumeshinda medals za kukimbia pia. Tafadhali, aste tupige picha.
Have you ever wondered how this is accurate? Metrology is the science of measurement. It makes sure that weighing scales, fuel pumps, medical equipments, and others give correct results.
In health, metrology ensures stethoscopes show correct measurement and medicines are given in the right doses. Small error can be dangerous. In manufacturing and trade, metrology ensures products meet standards and customers get what they pay for.
Metrology protects consumers from cheating, poor quality, and unsafe goods. Metrology may be invisible, but its impact is everywhere. Accurate measurements build the trust, safety, and fairness. Metrology matters.
In every second, a silent language is spoken across East Africa. It's not Swahili, it's not Luganda, oh, it's not English. It's a language of precision, metrology. In health, metrology is the boundary between cure and crisis. When a doctor prescribes 5 meals, it must be 5 meals. Accurate measurements save lives and ensure our hospitals are safe. In manufacturing, it's about the perfect fit. Without standards, our industries can't compete, from the smallest bolt to the largest engine. Metrology build a made in East Africa quality. And in trade, it's about your pocket. Metrology is the referee that ensures 1 kilogram in Nairobi is the same as 1 kilogram in Dar es Salaam. As a student, we are the future of this community. Demystify metrology isn't just for scientists, it's for every consumer who deserves protection and every business that wants to grow. Mainstreaming metrology, enhancing protection, powering East Africa. My name is Elias Robert Benbai, and I believe in the standard of precision. So let's make every measure count.
In most parts of life, being close enough is fine, but in a hospital, close enough can be very dangerous. This is where metrology becomes a matter of life and death. Think about a baby in an incubator. The temperature must be exact. Now think about a patient on a heart monitor or a child receiving a dose of medicine. If the equipment isn't calibrated, the diagnosis is wrong and the treatment fails. Metrology in health ensures that every medical device, from a simple thermometer to a complex MRI scanner, speaks the truth. When we demystify this science, we realize it's the foundation of modern healthcare. By mainstreaming metrology in the EAC, we're ensuring that every citizen from Kampala to Kigali has access to measurements they can bet their lives on. It's about more than numbers, it's about safety.
Precision in health, protection for all, that is the power of metrology.
In most parts of life, being close
across the East African community, metrology underpins trust, ensuring accurate measurement in health, manufacturing, and trade.
Welcome to the Regional Metrology Conference. Together, we strengthen metrology in health and trade.
Collaboration ensures accurate measurement in industry and consumer protection.
I think the metrology is not merely a regulatory function, but